G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today we're going to go through one of your most requested videos, which is going to be the buy, sell and hold / hodl video. We may also go through a quick wildcard draft at the end, given that game week 19 is now the last week that you can use your wildcard one in the first half of the season. If you don't use it and you haven't already used it, it will be lost. You won't be able to use two wildcards later in the season. Wildcard 2 will become active from after next week, so you will be able to use that at any point in the second half of the season. We'll crack straight into it with the defenders that we are looking at in terms of buy, sell and hold this season. And first up we have in the tier 1 buys, Gabriel of Arsenal. Really, for Arsenal, like one of the best defences in the league, Gabriel has a really nice offensive threat from corners. Set pieces have been one of Arsenal's key weapons this year in terms of scoring against teams. Their open play threat has been a little less effective this year. However, they did look like something clicked a little bit against Crystal Palace. In the last couple of game weeks, they have been working towards some solutions to that. Despite the Bukayo Saka injury. So I still feel Gabriel, from that attacking threat perspective, is a really nice buy. Also playing for one of the best teams and defences in the league. Has that sort of dual threat, with defenders not scoring that many points so far this season. I think it's important to look at players that also have that attacking threat to them, as well as in a good defence, given that the clean sheets are very hard to pick. Second up on the list, we've got Anthony Robinson. If you watched the game this week between Fulham and Chelsea, he launched himself up that left-hand side, getting into some really attacking positions. Shot on target, almost scored a goal. A few really nice crosses into the box for Fulham. And Fulham just have an absolutely fantastic fixture run over the next few game weeks, from 19 all the way through to 27 against Wolves. They've got Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, United, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Wolves, which out of those you pretty much have like maybe 7 or 8 teams that are in the bottom half of the table for goals scored so far this season. So I think the Fulham defence is probably one of the top defences to go into, and Anthony Robinson with that attacking talent is really nice for me. Along with him is his partner in crime now on the right hand side, Timothy Castagna. Picked up an assist this week in that Chelsea game with a header back across the box. He's at 4.2 million, so a little bit of a cut price from Robinson. If you don't have the money to be able to go to Robinson at 4.9, this gives you a nice cheap route into the Fulham defence. Kenny Tete is out for the next 8-ish game weeks. Therefore, Castagna should be a mainstay in the side over this period. He is also a very attacking defender. Used to get up and into some very attacking positions when he played for Leicester back in the Premier League back in the day, and continued to do so for Fulham this week against Chelsea. Those would be my tier 1 buys and the sort of key guys I'd be looking to get in. In the tier 2 section, we have Milenkovic of Nottingham Forest. He could also be and Ola Aina. I didn't want to include them both in here, but I think both of them are really nice options. Nottingham Forest now go on a really nice fixture run for the next 6 to 7 game weeks. They have Everton, Wolves, then Liverpool, then Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham over the next 7 weeks. Nuno has really got Nottingham Forest in really great shape. They have rotated a little bit between the 3-4-3 that they played in last week's match, but they went back to their normal 4-4-2-ish setup, 4-5-1 setup really, with Chris Wood up top this game week. And they looked really nice again, really solid. Tottenham really struggled to break them down and got themselves another clean sheet. They're really well organised under Nuno. And Milenkovic and Murillo have been a really fantastic centre-back partnership. Murillo with the strength, the physicality and the IQ, as well as his distribution out wide to sort of the wingers and the attacking fullbacks. Milenkovic again with strength and a real threat off corners, which is why he gets in here as a tier 2 buy. Almost got himself to goal against Tottenham. Got away from Dragic and just headed it just over the bar off that corner. He's definitely someone they're looking for off corners at the moment. Elsewhere, you have Olorena at fullback role, who is nice. And Nico Williams and Alex Moreno have been rotating a little bit on the other wing. So for me, just a minute's risk. I wouldn't go into them. Lewis Hall, next up on the list, has been really nice on that left-hand side for Newcastle, linking up with Anthony Gordon, getting into some attacking positions, and Newcastle have been really clicking into gear. 2 clean sheets in their last 2 games, with a 3-0 win against Aston Villa. Obviously, noting the red card from John Duran was helpful for them. But Lewis Hall, again, with a good game, really getting into some more attacking positions as well. So again, giving some attacking threat there. You will see in the video I do later this week, probably will come out tomorrow, which will show the statistical analysis and also tactical observations from the games this week after the Arsenal game and Brentford-Brighton game, which is to go ahead later. I am recording before those games take place. I will show statistically where all of these guys rank up in terms of expected assists and goals. And I will also talk about how tactically they fit into their team's lineups and how the teams played this game week. So look out for that video. I will probably link it somewhere above once that gets released, or down below in the bottom section. So keep an eye out for that and watch that if you're interested in both the tactical side and statistical side of the game, which I think has really helped my rank so far this season. Finally, in the tier 2 buys is Cucurella. He likes to drink Estrella, and he bins his Puma shoes in trash bins and then gets told off by Puma, I am assuming. So yeah, I think Chelsea have also just an amazing fixture run, especially from a defensive perspective over the next sort of 10 game weeks. Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves, Man City, West Ham, Brighton, Aston Villa, Southampton, Leicester. It's just a fantastic run of games. And with Cucurella inverting into the sort of 8/10 role from the left-back position, he's getting into some really high positions, almost got a goal against Fulham with the header at the back post, and picks up some very attacking positions for Chelsea, as well as them having good fixture runs for some potential defensive returns. I think Cucurella is a really nice option into that Chelsea defence. Probably one of the most consistent for minutes along with the attacking potential. Definitely someone who might offer a bit of a differential with people not going for him so far. Moving on to the sell category, I do have Pedro Porro of Spurs. Spurs have struggled defensively at the moment under Ange. They're playing super aggressive. Porro hasn't made the starting lineup in the last game against Nottingham Forest. And also just has not been picking up those attacking returns or nice positions either. Spurs don't have great fixtures coming up, so I think is a clear sell for me for Pedro Porro. Next up on the list is Rico Lewis of Man City. I think everyone's reached the end of their tether with Man City at the moment, conceding to Everton, who really are a poor offensive team, was probably the end of the tether for a lot of people. Rico Lewis for me now is a sell, given that there are a lot of nicer options at that price point, as we've discussed so far in this defender list. Man City do have some nice fixtures, but I think if I were to go for a Man City defender, it would most likely be Guardiola due to the attacking returns. Rico Lewis not quite picking up those nice positions, inverting into like a defensive midfielder role from the right or left back position when he plays. Finally, Ait Nouri of Wolves. Wolves defensively still really struggling. Ait Nouri again came back into the side this week, still on 4 yellow cards, could pick up a ban if he does pick up a yellow card next week. After that he will be fine, and that will then extend to game week 32. He will have to pick up 10 yellow cards before then, before he picks up a ban. But for me, the Wolves defence is just not looking that nice at the moment. They are still tinkering with their formations to see how high potentially Ait Nouri and Doherty/Semedo will play. So I think for me he is a sell with much nicer options, with much nicer fixtures. Wolves' really nice fixture run has come to an end now, and they will start to have some much tougher fixtures going forwards. Tottenham, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool coming up, so he is a sell for me. In the hodl section, we do have Josko Guardiola still for Man City, still hanging on to that hope that Man City over these next 4 game weeks with their nice fixtures can get some clean sheets. I think that looks unlikely, but for me, Guardiola is still great potential for attacking output. He does pick up some really nice positions for Man City, did almost score a goal, just headed it off the post against Everton, and has consistently been having attacking chances in each game for scoring. Already with 4 goals this year. He is a hold for me if you've got him. I think it's not urgent to take him out of your team with City's good fixtures and the attacking potential that he has. I wouldn't, however, look to be buying him into my team. Next up is Trent. He has moved into the hodl section for me. Again, this game week against Leicester, in the first half particularly, he did start to play a slightly more attacking role. More like what we saw from him against Tottenham and what we used to see from him under Klopp. He hasn't played in that role so far this season for Slot. That is why his attacking returns have been down so far this season. However, with Liverpool's great fixture run, with the double game week coming up in 24/25 probably, he is someone that if you do have in your team, I don't see any reason getting rid of. Now, with the Saka injury, it does mean that we do have some extra funds in our team to use, and therefore I don't see Trent as a terrible option going forwards. Finally on my list is Jurrien Timber. I think just not quite having the attacking output that we are looking for, especially with Saka now being injured. His link-up play up that right-hand side does decrease. He does become slightly less of a good option for me from an attacking perspective. I do prefer Gabriel. With Arsenal's fixtures possibly not the greatest over the next 4 weeks or so, you will be relying on just Arsenal being a good defensive side. So for me, Timber is a hold. If you do have him, I wouldn't be moving out of Arsenal defence. But if I was looking to buy, it would be a Gabriel for me. Moving on to the midfielders and starting off with the main man, Mo Salah. Not much to talk about really. If you don't have him in already, please buy him. You need him in your team. He's been dominating. Nothing further. Cole Palmer, next on the list. They're my 2 main buys. I think they're very obvious. Not too much to talk about either of these guys. They can both have some really explosive performances. And pick up some really explosive returns, and you definitely want them in your team going forwards. In the tier 2 category, we do have Enzo Fernandez. I think he is picking up some really nice attacking positions for Chelsea, but pushing up into the sort of attacking midfield role alongside Cole Palmer. He is on set pieces, free kicks, corners, and has been really made a point for Enzo Maresca to get him to get into the box more often. 5.1 million, great value for money with some really nice Chelsea fixtures going forwards for me. He is someone I'm definitely looking at bringing in as a potential Saka replacement. Jacob Murphy's another one for Newcastle. Alongside Anthony Gordon, he does provide a bit of a cheaper option into that Newcastle attack. I think their fixtures are good, not amazing over the next sort of 6 weeks, but Man United, Tottenham, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham do provide some nice attacking options. And if you do want to double up on that Newcastle attack, I think he provides great value at 5 million with some also nice statistics and in that attacking high energy right wing role going forwards. Next up is Ismail Assar of Crystal Palace. With Eze back, actually tactically he's in a bit of a nicer role. They play in that sort of 2 number 10 role behind the striker, dual number 10 role behind the striker, with Eze and Sarr linking up with Mateta, allowing Sarr to sort of run in behind and also Mateta to drop deep and feed him, and as well as that, Sarr to play those through balls for Mateta, giving him a bit of a dual threat. Statistically, he does have about 0.5 expected goals and assists and 0.2 expected goals at the moment. He does also have a really nice fixture run for Crystal Palace coming up. So for me, Ismaila Sarr is a really nice option. He is a proven goal scorer in the Premier League and has been in good form with 2 goals in his last 3 and 1 ruled out for offside this week for Crystal Palace. Finally on the list, and this has been one that's just come in this week, is Dejan Kulusevski. He's probably the guy in the Spurs team that sort of, other than Son, has the nicest price point. Obviously Son is a nice option at that price point as well, just a little bit more expensive for me. I do prefer Dejan Kulusevski at 6.4 million. He has been a real creative threat for Spurs consistently, and the threat of Maddison just coming off the bench for those sort of 10 minutes has just sort of bumped him out of this category for me, and I am now favouring Kulusevski over Maddison for the time being. Into the sell category, we do have Brennan Johnson. I think he obviously rotates with really Maddison, but essentially Kulusevski on that right wing. And Kulusevski moves into the number 10 role and Maddison comes out of the team when Brennan Johnson plays. I don't think Brennan Johnson does pick up the greatest position for Spurs. He did have one of his better games this week in the 1-0 loss, surprisingly, to Nottingham Forest. I did mention this week that I did think if they started with Brennan Johnson and Nottingham Forest started in that 4-5-1 formation, Tottenham would have trouble breaking them down. That is exactly what happened this game week, and I do think that is to do with sort of Brennan Johnson not having as much of a creative threat as Kulusevski does on that right wing, and with Maddison in the 10 as well, and therefore Spurs do struggle to break down lower block teams. For me, he's a sell. I don't like his minutes, I don't like his positional play, and I really don't like Spurs' fixtures going forwards. So not worth 6.5 mil. Another one is Mitoma of Brighton. I think Brighton have really struggled without Danny Welbeck. Their attacking positioning has just not been the same as it has been previously. Mitoma just not really fed the ball as much as I would like to see. He doesn't sort of get into those counter-attacking, threatening positionings where he's so dangerous at as well. The Brighton fixtures are not fantastic over the next couple of weeks. They do start to pick up from game week 21. However, they just don't seem to be in the greatest form. This is obviously before they play Brentford tomorrow, so we will see how they go. But for me, Mitoma is a sell. There are some other sort of cut price options that I prefer with better fixtures coming up. Finally, Bukayo Saka, as we know, has suffered a hamstring injury. We do think it will be a few weeks. He will be out for, and he's likely to miss plenty of game weeks. At 10.4 million, you really want to be getting those funds into your team to use elsewhere. So for me, he is a sell. Finally, into the hodl section or hold, Jared Bowen of West Ham. If you do have him, he has been in good form lately, getting a couple of returns in his last few games. I know they do have Liverpool coming up this week, but after that, Man City, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, there is a chance of him picking up some returns over that game week, and there aren't a lot of wonderful options at that sort of price point. For me, if Jared Bowen can keep continuing his current form, and maybe West Ham can pick up a bit of form going forwards, he is someone that you can hold on to. I wouldn't look to buy into him at this stage though. Next up, Brian Mbeumo. I think there are bigger fires to put out in teams at the moment, and Brian Mbeumo being on penalties for Brentford, playing in that attacking role, Brentford being such a high-scoring team in the top 5 teams for goals scored this season, I just think there's no reason to be getting rid of him. Their next 4 fixtures are not nice with Arsenal, Southampton, Man City and Liverpool, but the way Man City have been defending this season, there could be goals in that game. Same goes for Southampton. And then after that, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, West Ham, Leicester, Everton are some quite nice fixtures. So for me, I would just hold Mbeumo if I've got him. I think there's no reason to sell him at this time. Finally, Phil Foden. If you do have him, if you did punt for him last week for Saka, I know he disappointed a lot of managers. However, I don't see the need to really knee-jerk out of him and go for some other players. Man City do have 4 more nice fixtures coming up, with Leicester, West Ham, Brentford and Ipswich in their next 4, and I would hold Phil Foden over those 4 game week period and hope for the big upside. That is really what you're going for with Foden in your team. You are hoping for that sort of 2-goal haul and upside that Man City can provide if they click into gear, which is looking more and less likely each week. Moving on to the forwards, and the main man in there, absolutely no surprise, is Alexander Isak. He is in sensational form at the moment for Newcastle. Long may that continue. He is in my team at the moment. He is my #1 buy if you don't have him. Next up is Nicholas Jackson. I know he's failed to return for Chelsea, but he has been getting into still some great positions. And I just think he's been a little bit unfortunate not to return for owners in the last couple of weeks. And I do expect him to pick up over this nice Chelsea next sort of few fixtures. Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth and Wolves in the next 4. I do expect him to continue to start for Chelsea and pick up some returns over this period. I would be looking to get him into my side as one of my key forwards going forwards. In the tier 2 section is still Chris Wood. He hasn't managed to return in the last couple of game weeks for Nottingham Forest, but he does have 10 goals this season. I think the second or third most of all strikers at the moment. And coming up with Everton and Wolves over the next 2 game weeks, he is looking like he could pick up some returns over those game weeks. Next is Gabriel Jesus, and he is in the tier 2 buy at the moment, but after this Arsenal-Ipswich game, we will have to wait and see how he does. If he grabs a goal or 2 in that game, he does probably bump up to the tier 1 buy for me. In that Arsenal team at 6.8 million would be a really lovely line into their centre-forward role. With Saka away as well, it does seem to me that he's likely to get more minutes, whether it's in that centre-forward role or right-wing role if they push him out there, if he doesn't score this week against Ipswich. But hopefully he does continue to start in that centre-forward role and could become a really nice cut price option going forwards for Arsenal. Next up is Yoane Wissa. For me, I have talked about him all season. I think he's someone who is a little bit fixture-proof. He has such fantastic footballing IQ that he manages to just find great positions all the time, no matter what the game. Brentford again being a really fantastic attacking threat. And for me, if you can't make it into any of those other guys, Yoane Wissa is the cut price option that I would be looking at this moment, probably over a João Pedro and also now a John Duran having his suspension going on. Outside of that, then, in the sell section, we do have Danny Welbeck and João Pedro. I think at the moment, and I will hold a little bit of reservation for this until that Brentford fixture for João Pedro, but Brighton just don't look the same without Welbeck at the moment. They're sort of attacking play patterns that they've been so well coached under Hertzler. The link-up play is not quite the same. João Pedro, I think, struggles up front in that centre-forward role. They did try to drop him into the number 9 the number 10 behind the striker with Ruta up front in the second half last week for Brighton, where he did look a little bit more dangerous. But for me, he's more of a sort of price point role. But at the moment, I think he would be a nice sell to Gabby Jesus for Arsenal if you can afford that transfer. So it does go into the sell category for me. And finally, Raul Jimenez of Fulham, with Rodrigo Muniz again scoring this week. I do think that he will miss out on the weekend for Fulham and start on the bench. For me, minutes risk, despite Fulham having really nice fixtures going forwards, he would be a sell for me, as I would like to cash in on the good forwards that we have at the moment. In the hodl section, we do have Matheus Cunha. His ban has not yet come through yet, so we would like to just hold on to him. He's been in sensational form at the moment. We will wait for news on his ban. Stay tuned to my channel. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I will be doing a deadline stream, so tune in on, it will be, I think Saturday 1 PM in the UK, or Sunday 1 PM in the UK, or Sunday night, it will be sort of midnight in Australia, Sydney time for those of you that are watching here. So yeah, tune into that deadline stream. I will give all the news on Cunha. I don't expect that ban to come through, similar to the Bentancur ban for Tottenham. It did take a few weeks for them to make official how many weeks he would be banned for. So I think Cunha might be good to play again against Spurs in 19. So I would hold on to him if you can and make a last minute decision on that. Erling Haaland, if you do have him in your team, you obviously have him in your team for a reason. I'm not going to be the one to say you should tear your team apart now and move on from him. My personal opinion is that is not the optimal structure to go for. But if you do have him in your team, Man City have a really nice fixture run of 4 fixtures. This is the time to cash in on him, potentially to captain him. Let's hope that he can get back into goal scoring form after missing the penalty this week. And finally, Ollie Watkins, with Duran likely to serve a 3-match ban for his red card at Newcastle, noting that Villa have appealed the decision, so we will see if that does get overturned. Again, stay tuned for more content coming up from me this week on that, if there is any news. Otherwise, if you do have Ollie Watkins, just hold on to him for now. Let's find out if that ban is final for Duran. If it is likely that Watkins will be starting the next 3 games for Villa, Brighton, Leicester and Everton, which are quite nice game weeks for Villa, so I would hold on to Ollie Watkins. Finally, we would like to go through maybe just a wildcard draft for you guys to show you what I'd be looking at for Game Week 19. And just a quick shout out, if you have been enjoying this content on the channel, please subscribe to the channel, please give the video a like. We're just a small channel trying to grow at the moment, and I really appreciate you guys if you are able to sort of give this channel a like and a subscribe to help us grow. Anyway, we'll get back to the video and we will move on to a wildcard team that I've put together today. A bit quickly, I will say, I think there are some different options that you can look at, but if you haven't done your wildcard one for the season yet, this is your last week to do it. Make sure you play your wildcard, even potentially look at just sort of getting in some players to potentially get a 0.2 million price rise. Activate it now. Maybe move on your goalkeepers if you're happy with your team and you don't want too many transfers. You might as well play it. It will be lost. You won't be able to carry it over to the second half of the season. You will get wildcard 2 beginning after Game Week 19 finishes in Game Week 20. So what I'm looking at here is sort of Alisson Becker for Liverpool, thinking forward to that sort of Liverpool double game week, as well as sort of the Liverpool fixture run coming up over that next 6-7 week period. It would be really nice to have some Liverpool defence in there. They have looked strong defensively, and I think this is a really nice way into sort of their consistent defensive lineup. Along with him, we've got Fabianski. Despite getting injured, it does look like it wasn't too serious an injury. He was still at the training ground. He wasn't taken to hospital. I probably expect him to miss next week for West Ham, but then I think he will probably return to the starting lineup. He's been in fantastic form for West Ham this season, and I kind of think that he will probably play for them going forwards over Areola. In the defence, Gabriel we've talked about, Trent we've talked about, Robinson we've talked about, and Hall we've all talked about. I think they're excellent options going forwards. Hall and Robinson, a lovely price point. Gabriel and Alexander-Arnold probably using those funds from Saka to go into. You could obviously go for maybe a Joe Gomez in that Liverpool defence over a Trent. If you wanted to upgrade elsewhere, I think that's an easy swap to make. I don't see Trent's upside as too big. It's mostly for that double game week that I'd like to have him for the sort of potential upside from attacking perspective. And then Bednarek in there at that 4.0. I do think Southampton have really picked up defensively under the new manager, being able to hit sort of longer from the back. They haven't made those terrible mistakes. And they have been really good in a low block with 5 at the back this season, both against Man City and against Liverpool. They made it difficult for them, and it was just defensive errors trying to play out from the back that cost them, especially in that Liverpool game. So I think they could be a team which do cause a few surprises. With Bednarek at that sort of 4 million fodder, he is a nice sort of cheap option into the team. In the midfield, we got Mo Salah and Cole Palmer. We have discussed them at length. I think they're fantastic options and you must have in your team. Great captaincy options going forwards. On top of that, we've got Morgan Rogers. Aston Villa have an excellent fixture run now for the sort of next 9-10 games, and he's a really pivotal role in that Unai Emery team. He has been talking about how important Morgan Rogers is for him and how he's trying to make him a more and more key cog in that team. Alex Iwobi in there for the nice price point, as well as a really nice sort of Fulham fixture run. He is in there over Enzo, so I don't triple up on the Chelsea attack. Otherwise, I'd have probably liked to go for Enzo in that midfield, but I did just want to spread the risk. Then we have Dejan Kulusevski, who we did discuss in that Spurs midfield at a nice price point. Up front, I think the three best strikers at the moment, Isak, Jackson and Jesus. If he can bed down that starting role for Arsenal, that's definitely looking like a really nice upside for me. And that is my Wildcard 19 team. Let me know what you think below in the comments. If you've got any changes you'd make, and if you enjoyed this buy, sell, hodl video that I've done for you guys. Good luck in Game Week 19. If you do enjoy my content, please give us a subscribe. Please like the video. I really appreciate you guys watching, and watching to the end really does help the channel and keep building that sort of YouTube algorithm viewership model. So if you can watch those videos all the way through, do really appreciate that. If you can give a sub and like the channel and the video, I will appreciate that. Good luck for Game Week 19. Stay tuned, stay subscribed for the content coming out this week. There will be the tactical observations and statistical observations in the one video, which I know a lot of you guys like and has been a big reason for the sort of rank increases that we've seen on this channel going forwards. Those tactical observations that we're giving should hopefully come out tomorrow, and then we will do deadline stream on sort of the Sunday / Monday morning in Australia. Hope you guys have a great week. Hope everything goes well tomorrow in the Brighton, Brentford and Arsenal Ipswich game for you guys. Have an excellent game week. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. English Aussie out.